Pat O'Neill, physician assistant, and we're going to talk a little bit about splinting at this point. So this is something we do near the end of our rapid trauma assessment and treating the patient. By this point, we've already finished with all of our amputations. We've put a nasopharyngeal airway in. We've put a vented chest seal on the sucking chest wound. We've gone back, we've put stump dressings on. So now's around the time where I kind of look and I go, okay, when is evac going to happen? Is the helicopter on its way? How much time do I have left before I have to move this patient? And if I have the time, then I'm going to go ahead and try to splint some fractures. You really don't want this guy going through the evacuation process with an unprotected fracture if possible. But if medical gets there, we don't delay treatment. We just go ahead and we send on out. So when we're checking for fractures, we want to start head to toe. We want to look at, palpate all the facial structures, the back of the head. Now I already did this before putting in the nasopharyngeal airway. I want to move down, check the clavicles. I'm going to press in on the shoulder girdle, look at the patient's face, see if I see any wincing, check the chest, move on down. Press on the pelvic area. It's called a pelvic rock. If I feel one of these hips give way, I'm not touching that again until I can splint it. And we'll show you videos on how to do that later. Come back up, I check the long bones, moving them back and forth. I got the fracture there. Checking this, moving them back and forth, trying to see if I have any fractures, any wincing on the patient's face. Come down. I know I have the amputation here. By definition, that's a fracture. So I'm going to check the femurs. I'm looking up. I don't see any wincing. Same sort of thing here. I'm squeezing. I come down. Oh, I get a reaction. Plus, I also see some swelling. I might see a little bit of bruising of the tissue. So this is something that I'm going to want to stabilize prior to him moving out. Now, for ankle and foot, there's a couple different ways to do this, but I was always taught the L and U splint. That's the one I'm going to show you today. It's a fantastic splint. It stabilizes it both posteriorly and it comes up. Now, we get the name because we're going to form a U with the splint coming around here. I always like to put this one on first. Then I put the posterior splint on. The reason that is because I want that first splint really in tight, protecting this ankle. So we do that. Got my trusty Sam splint here. Now, if it's a short evac, if the guy's going to be in the hospital within 20, 30 minutes, this already has a foam protection on it. The guy will sweat a little bit on this, not too bad. So I'm not really that concerned with it. And I get it down here like this. If I wanted to pat it, great. So what I can do is I can either wrap this entire board, which can be a little tedious, but it can be done. Or I can just wrap the ankle. So in this case, I'm just going to provide padding by wrapping the ankle. Now, I was always taught leave a little bit of a tail. You want to go under the hollow parts. You don't want to move the leg too much. And then we like to bend this over a little bit so that when we come around again, it kind of pegs it in place. And all this padding is doing, it's meant just to protect these bones over here that might get a little bit more pressure on them from the board pressing on it. And we want to take out as much of these wrinkles as we can as we go. Because the wrinkles themselves can sometimes cause pressure sores. So that's plenty of padding already. The only thing I'm doing now is just making sure that I just run out. Okay. Put a little bit of tape on that just to hold it in place. Always make yourself a courtesy tab in case you have to use the tape again. It's easy to grab. So now we're going to put this on. We're going to want to conform it nice and neat. And you want to put a little bit of a curve in here. Now in this case, I'm going to put a reverse C curve here. And then I'm going to start putting in the curve on the sides. Once you put a curve in a sand splint, it strengthens it incredibly. And it does not take much pressure to do this at all. So you can see once I got that C curve in, I can't even really bend this. You can pinch these right here a little bit on the sides, crimp those in. That is sturdy. That is very sturdy. All right, so this is the U portion of the splint. Now we're going to do the posterior L. And the way this is going to come up, just like this. I want to bend that in a little bit, bring it up right behind, bring that up, and I want to extend it past the tip of the toe. Again, we're going to put a C curve into it. Very easy to do. And then we'll pinch it where it angles. So we're just going to lift this up, slide it under, just like that. Bring that up. This provides protection. Now some people are like, well, how's that C curve going to hold its position if the guy is applying weight? Won't the C curve come out? No, I mean the whole idea is if you're doing this, the guy's not applying weight on it anyway. Putting a little pinch down here in the corner. Now, I have protection from side to side wiggle with the U. Now I have protection from forward and back movement with the L. This is the L and the U. Now I'm going to take my 6-inch ace wrap. I love 6-inch ace wraps. Pretty much the only one I use. And we're going to start wrapping. Again, you want to lock it in place. Bend it over just a little bit, and we're going to start going up. Now normally I like to tie these off. Leave enough room for one where I can tie it, but I can't do that with this. We're going to have to just tape it at the end, or you can use those fancy little metal clips if you like them. I got to move your amputation, buddy. Sorry. Randy's a good patient. He doesn't complain too much. All right. tape film. All right, that is on there good. That is not going anywhere. Okay, and after we get this thing all taped up, one of the things we're going to want to do is come down here and check his capillary refill. Make sure we have good circulation. If you can, you're going to want to reach up in there, maybe feel for a pedal pulse if you know where they're at. In this case, I have done a tremendous job, and his pulses are all intact. He's ready to go. Next thing we're going to do with him, we already have the hypothermia blizzard blanket already in place from when we rolled him the first time. So now we're going to want to go ahead and wrap this up and get him ready to be moved out.